Good morning, everyone. So, it is absolutely freezing today, and it's dark as all hell, but doesn't matter. I have you guys, and so therefore I'm happy. And today, you and I are going to talk about the top 3 things that I believe that you should learn after you know Java. So let's get into it. So, why am I talking about specifically Java? Well, for the most part, I speak about Java because I believe it is one of, and C# is up there as well. Like C# and Java are very, very, very similar, but I'm going to stick to Java in this video. And the reason why I think it's very, very useful for a beginner programmer to learn Java as one of their fundamental languages is because it's such a massive language. It's not the sexiest language in the world. It's never going to be the sexiest language in the world. It's not going to be the fastest or anything like that, but it is the... Take what I'm saying now with a big pinch of salt. It is the most popular language. Now, hear me out. I know. If you've seen my other videos, I have said 100 times that JavaScript is the most popular language, and it kind of depends on what you mean by popular. Popular doesn't necessarily mean that it's like everybody loves it and everybody wants to use it. It depends on what you talk about. Now, I will argue that Java may not be the most beloved language in the world, even though it's actually very high up on the polls for, loved languages by professionals. But the place where Java probably is one of the highest ranked languages is on the, like, if there was actually a study like that, giant company adoption. Java is without a doubt one of, if not the most popular language at the corporate level. Arguably C# is up there rivaling a bit as well. Big companies love Java. Old companies love Java. And that is in of itself, if you think about it, very interesting to anybody who wants to be a programmer, but because that means that the people with the most money and the most influence and power and so forth, and the people who hire the largest amount of developers are looking for Java people. So it's no wonder that the majority of Java, if you go on YouTube Java development and you want to learn Java, odds are that you are going to find a million videos especially from India. India is really, like, a lot of companies in India specialize in Java consultancies, and we have tons of people here in Gothenburg who do the same thing. And it's for a reason, because it's a very popular language and people with a lot of money want Java developers. So now I'm going to help you out. I'm going to tell you what I think you should learn after you've learned the language. So now you know Java. All right. Okay, so at number 3, what you should learn is something like Tomcat. You need to learn a web server. The majority of Java applications that you're going to work with most likely have some type of web presence. That's very, very common. Like, you can do embedded systems and you can do all these other things, of course. I'm not saying you can't, but for the most part, Java has, in my experience, been used for like web-facing interfaces, APIs, or web pages and so forth. So Tomcat is just one flavor of basically a web server that can serve up Java. It's one of the more popular ones because it's free. And it's very easy to get started. I started with Tomcat. I thought it was really great fun. And when I was working at Ticketmaster, we used Tomcat as well. Tomcat Enterprise Edition, of course, because big companies want things to be enterprise. And apart from that, you can probably do something like JBoss is also fairly popular, and then you have like the other one, like there are several flavors. Like, I think as a beginner, without going too much into depth about Glassfish and there are other flavors of databases, Tomcat is probably it's a very good first choice, and it integrates very nicely with the IDEs that you may be using. So that's a very important thing to know. You need to be able to deploy your Java application to a web server. So with that comes, of course, things that you need to know what basically what the different routings are, how to nowadays, like in the more recent versions of Java, we use annotations to declare our different Java beans, and you have your different paths and methods on those on these Java beans that you can use in order to serve up different types of content. There's a whole array of that, but the web part of this is what I want you to take away. Learn that, because it's going to be very important to you. All right, that's number one. Number two, after you know how a web server and the web interfaces of Java work, you need to learn JPA, or the Java Persistence API. And what that basically is, it's a library on top of Java that will help you do database persistence and ORMs, or object relational mapping. I think that's that term for it. And what does all of that mean? Well, basically the way that traditionally the way that at least I was taught how to do this is that, if you need databases, and you're gonna need a database, like almost every single application I've ever built for any type of serious project uses a database. You don't have to have them, but 99.99% of the time you're gonna use them. The way traditionally that you would do that with Java is with the JPA, the Java Persistent API, or archive, or whatever you want to call it. So what it does is basically that it allows you to declare different object classes, and then you can basically create an interface between your database and your code, so that you can, in a very easy manner, in the more recent versions, you actually just use annotations to declare different fields that are mapping to a specific table or something of that sort in the database you have, and then you simply use the JPA abstraction layer, because it works with a lot of different database types. So you don't really have to, and I think that's kind of elegant. You don't have to have like a specific library or specific thing for the different flavors of databases you want to use. You can basically use the same interface on all of it, and it's not like you're switching out your database every day, but it's a nice thing to have. So that's important. If you are doing that, most likely you're going to use an ORM of some sort, and Hibernate is probably one of the, that's the one I've been using. You don't have to use Hibernate, but Hibernate is kind of, to me, JPA and Hibernate, they kind of go hand in hand. You can correct me if you want, but that's at least the most common ones I've seen at professionally, and even in school we were taught that as well. So we have the first two things. So learn Tomcat or a web server of some sort, so that you know how to do routing and basically create a web interface in Java. Second thing is, or number two, is to learn JPA and Hibernate or some ORM, so you can actually access a database and so forth. And then you can probably guess what the first thing you need to learn once you learn Java and you have all these things down, which is going to be a database. Because once you have a web interface and you have a ORM and some type of way of storing things to the database, you're going to need to know how a database actually works. And I would suggest that you start with MySQL. MySQL is probably the easiest one. It's free, and the support is great. There's a lot of great documentation, and you can get started very easily. It's probably, I would say, for a beginner, the easiest place to start. And it's going to give you everything you need. Trust me, if you Google right now how to do all these things, you're going to find tons and tons and tons of resources on how to create like a JPA integration to, with Hibernate to MySQL. Most of the examples are made for MySQL. Well, not most of them, but at least the ones that I find, those are a perfect fit for what I'm saying right now. So take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt. This is of course a very subjective list, but it's the one that I found to be most useful in my career. I learned these things in basically this order. I started with a web server, and then I learned like Hibernate and JPA basically, and they kind of were bundled together, and then I learned like a database system and so forth. And it's been working out pretty nicely. With these three things, if you know these things after you've learned Java, you will pretty much be in a position where you can start looking for a job. I'm not saying that you're going to be a master just because you learn these things, but these are the bare bone basics of how to do professional Java development for the most part. So hopefully you'll have a great deal of fun learning these things, and I wish you good luck with it, because it's pretty, for better or for worse, it's actually very nice even to kind of, I know that a lot of people smack talk Java all the time, but I usually have a lot of fun when I work with it. I don't know why, maybe I'm nostalgic, but I think it's pretty cool. And this is coming from somebody who spends most his time working with JavaScript and Scala and Elixir and Go and all these cooler languages. So hey, I think Java is still sexy as hell.